From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. Hello, everyone. I'm Jamie Hickson.
And I'm Eric Rosen.
We're very happy that you could join us this evening. As always, you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Snapchat. You can see old episodes of past shows on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And I think we're going to be taking some calls tonight. At least we're going to attempt to take some phone calls tonight at 718-727-0143. It's a light night tonight, literally over here. But Kenny Graham is on the other side of the glass, and they've got a skeleton crew of people outside right now. So looks like we're going to have to go on autopilot once again.
Oh, we got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we got serious business to discuss,
including this coming week. New York City is, for some huge sports fans. We got the Subway Series coming up Monday to Thursday.
Yeah, that's actually tonight and tomorrow in the Bronx, Wednesday and Thursday in Queens, and then at the end of the weekend, in fact, this very weekend, the Mets are home to play the Marlins, which means they're going to have to face Giancarlo Stanton, a guy who's been on a complete tear lately. He just got named National League Player of the Week, as a matter of fact.
42 home runs, I believe. He leads the major leagues.
And 8 home runs in the last 9 games. I always knew that he was a great slugger, but he's just unconscious this last week.
How about Conforto, though, since the All-Star break, too? He's been on a bit of a tear as well since the All-Star break. Now he's got 26 homers. In fact, he had a big home run yesterday in the Sunday 6-2 victory against Philadelphia. So let's go over the Mets. They had a short 2-game series at home against the Texas Rangers. They won 5-4 in Chris Flexen's debut. Conforto, Cespedes, and Darno homered in that game. Mm-hmm. Then they lost 5-1 due to a 3-run first inning for Texas, including a balk by Montero, unfortunately.
Yeah.
One of his worst seasons he's had, and yet he's pitching tonight.
Yeah.
Help the Mets.
Rafael Montero has been a big-time disappointment, and now it's gotten to the point where he's not even a prospect anymore. He's 26 years old. It's time for him to start maturing as a pitcher, and I don't know if he's got a mechanical issue or if he has a confidence problem, or maybe he's just not good enough to be major league material. Maybe he's only good enough to be triple A material, but this season has been a complete and utter flop for him.
Yeah, he had a balk he gave up to Shinso Chu, and then he gave up a 2-run homer to Joey Gallo, and it was one of those noon camp day games that they always have twice every single season. Then they go to Philadelphia, one of the worst teams in the league that is guaranteed to probably get the number 1 overall pick.
They are
next
the
year.
single worst team in baseball right now.
And they beat them 10-0, as we expected in the latest start for DeGrom. But unfortunately, he had a bit of an incident. He got nailed in the back of his right arm above the elbow by Nick Williams' liner in the 7th and forced to leave in the 7th inning because of that. He still got the victory, but right now he's scheduled to pitch actually tomorrow night against Sonny Gray in Yankee Stadium. Mm-hmm. Sonny Gray still is yet to win a game for the Yankees since he's been since the trade took place. So hopefully, I think it should be an exciting game. I'm hoping that DeGrom will be at 100%. I think he will be. Thank God the X-rays were negative. They still won 10-0, and Wilmer Flores actually was a triple shy of the cycle.
Yeah.
Thursday comes. Rosario had the tie-breaking sole lead off in the 9th inning, and they win 7-6. Ahmed Rosario, who was brought up from AAA last week.
Yeah, and also in that series, Dominic Smith finally made his major league debut, his long-awaited major league debut. Yeah, gotten off to a slow start, but it's August, and right now he's being penciled in as the first baseman of the future. But there's also been issues with his weight. He's about 250 pounds. Not to say that he's bordering on Cecil Fielder or Prince Fielder territory, but he's a little bit stocky. So maybe it's time for him to probably hit the weight room and try some kind of diet, because he's really getting up there in weight.
That's for sure, but the guy has power. He's got a good defensive prowess too as well. I'm happy.
Although his first game, he kind of fanned a couple of plays at first, but that's going to be with time. In time, he's due to be probably a really good first baseman and good all-around player as well.
A legit first baseman, which the Mets have lacked for years. We've never had a legitimate first baseman, and we never had a legitimate shortstop in some time and all that.
Well, now that they've got Smith and Ahmed Rosario, there's a strong possibility that the Mets will be able to add to their crop of youngsters because, as you know, the Mets have done a lot of wheeling and dealing. Not only did they bring in A.J. Ramos from the Marlins, but they also traded Lucas Duda. They traded
Jay Bruce to the Indians. I called it. Remember how many times I called it on this show that Jay Bruce was going to get traded to an AL Central team, most likely the Indians. I called it a bunch of times.
And just over the weekend, Neil Walker wound up getting traded to Milwaukee.
Contending teams in the AL and NL Central, respectively, which I'm happy for them. And for Luke Studer on a team that has a chance to win a wild card spot in the American League. So at least, they're on teams where they have a chance to get to October.
Yeah.
Especially the Indians, I think will definitely win the Central Division for the second year in a row.
In the meantime, what did the Mets do in the offseason? Because the offseason isn't too far away. Now that we know that they have their first baseman and shortstop of the future, there's still the issue of second base, third base, and all three parts of the outfield because they've got some free agents still that they need to decide on.
Curtis Granderson, if the Mets want to bring him back, they'll have to give him maybe a 2-year contract, something shorter than what he got initially. He won't take that. He probably wants even longer than 2 years with another team. So I wouldn't be shocked if Granderson's not with the team after this year is out. As for the pitching situation, because we always could use a starting pitcher, if the Mets were not cheapos and they actually are looking to spend some money, there's a guy from Japan who's got a nice name called Yu, who's with the Dodgers now.
Yu Darvish?
Yeah, if the Mets are not cheapos and they are willing to take some money out of their pocketbooks and spend for this guy who is honestly worth it. Yes, he's had some issues with his ERA, but you know what? Since he's got over to the Dodgers, he's actually been better than he has been all season with the Texas Rangers.
Well, there's also the issue of the guys that the Mets have on the disabled list right now. Noah Syndergaard, Matt Harvey, Zach Wheeler. There's still 50-50 as far as whether they're going to be returning at all this season. There's also Robert Gesellman. He's on the disabled list too. Right now, Jacob deGrom has anchored that pitching staff all by himself. He has been fantastic. And also, Seth Lugo and Steven Matz. Steven Matz has been a disappointment. Seth Lugo has been up and down at the most.
And this is really sad because when Steven Matz came on board with the Mets, remember when they were making that 2015 run to the World Series championship, he had a meteoric rise. Mm-hmm. Imagine a Long Island native playing for his favorite team growing up as a kid.
Yeah. Being
a part of that playoff rotation. And he wasn't too bad during that time. But 2016, he played his full rookie season, and we got to see more of it was more than a sample size we got to see of Steven Matz. And we didn't like what we saw last year from him. And not only that, the injuries, again, in 2016 have been the same situation for 2017.
Yep.
Harvey, honestly, right now,
I know he's doing a rehab assignment. In fact, he pitched for Brooklyn just recently. Was a little shaky. It was all aces with him. An inning, a run, on a hit, and a walk, and a strikeout.
I wouldn't be shocked in September if we possibly see him as well as Syndergaard. But at the same time, if I'm the Mets, I wouldn't even risk it. I would just let them sit out for the rest of the year. Not even worth it to have them play. Have them, do some warm-ups and some other...
Well, if they're close to 100%, then there's no rhyme or reason to have them benched for the entire year because they're going to be really, really rusty.
But at the same time, do you want to risk them possibly being injured in September and then having to wait another year? I would not even do it. But that's just me. Anyway, the Mets lost Saturday 3-1 on a Freddie Galvis single in the 5th inning. And then Sunday was the 6-2 victory. Both Granderson leading a leadoff double in that game. And he also had he had 3 RBIs altogether. It was a great game. They won 6-2. They went 4-2 this week. Granted, it was against sub 500 teams, but nonetheless, that's good that they had a winning record this past week. As for the Yankees, they go to Toronto. CeCe Sabathia has one of the scariest injuries, limping off the field after he was hitting the knee. In the third, did not return. One of the shortest outings of the season besides that 2 2/3 inning stint against Toronto back on the 4th of July. The Yankees lost 4-2. J.A. Happ, that was his 6th straight victory as a pitcher. Then the Yankees won 11-5 on Wednesday. Frazier had a homer and 3 RBIs. Sanchez homered. Gregorius homered. Frazier even had a 2-run double in the 5th. Then came Thursday. The Yankees lost 4-0. Marco Estrada and his 2 relievers combined on a 6-hitter. So they lost that series. And then came Friday against Boston. They went into this game 4.5 games back in the division. They win 5-4. Aaron Hicks with a 2-run homer that started a 5-run 8th inning that led them to a 5-4 victory. Then came Saturday when Andrew Benintendi, one of the best rookie sensations, he had a pair of 3-run homers, led the Red Sox to a 10-5 victory. Then came the worst inning ever on Sunday. Devers, the rookie Rafael Devers, comes up, gets the game-tying homer in the 9th inning, and then Benintendi gets the go-ahead RBI single in the 10th. The Yankees lose 3-2. Chapman, another blown save.
This entire week was a colossal disappointment for the Yanks. Not only did they fall behind in the standings, they're now 5.5 games out of first right now. They have a closer problem because Aroldis Chapman has really self-destructed on the mound. And consider this, the guy, the kid that wound up getting that 2-run home, the solo home run that the kid from the Red Sox, Rafael Devers, drove a 102-mile-per-hour fastball into the Yankee bullpen. When you think about it,
that's skill right there to be able to do that.
That's more than skill. That is being a boss. If a slugger can drive a 102-mile-an-hour fastball over the fence for a home run, you know that he's got a lot of potential. But what does this say about Chapman? He's still bringing the heat, yet he's not showing any consistency whatsoever.
I know. Some of the pitches are so predictable. A lot of these players are picking up on the type of high fastballs that he throws, these 100-mile-per-hour pitches that he has. There are moments where you think they're going to work out, but yet he's had blown save like at least 4 or 5 times this year. It's really disheartening as a fan of not me as a fan, but for Yankee fans, see their closer self-destructing like that in close games like that where they need to win, especially if they want to make a run at the division. I'll be honest though, Boston's going to end up owning the AL East by September. The Yankees' only chance of getting to the playoffs will be like the Mets last year, the wild card.
This just goes to show you the difference between the Red Sox and the Yankees right now. Look at who Boston has in their pitching staff. Just yesterday, Chris Sale was phenomenal, striking out one Yankee after another. I think he finished with about 11 or 12 strikeouts in the game. He now has struck out 10 or more batters 15 times this season. 16 times this season. He's 3 short of Pedro Martinez's franchise record. That's number 1.
He leads the league in strikeouts. He has one of the best ERAs in baseball, one of the best whip percentages. And you know what? He's on his way. He's in the conversation to win the Cy Young Award.
Yep, and look what happened over the weekend. Drew Pomeranz, another good young pitcher, wound up getting a victory. The Red Sox, not only have they been winning without David Price, who's still on the disabled list, they're winning games that they're supposed to. They're taking care of their division rivals. They're getting big hits when they're supposed to. And also, Dustin Pedroia has been hurt too, yet they're still able to get big hits from guys like Benintendi and Mookie Betts and Jackie Bradley Jr. All young guys that came out of the system have been helping the Red Sox win some of the biggest games for them this season. And this in spite of the fact that not only are 2 of their best guys hurt, They've also had guys that have been in really, really deep slumps, yet they've been able to compensate by getting contributions from other people.
And the closer, Craig Kimbrell, this year.
And Craig Kimbrell has been lights out. He wound up striking out 3 out of the 4 guys that he faced yesterday to get a win in relief. As far as the Yankees are concerned, first off, they're not even supposed to get this far right now. The fact that they're over 500 and in second place in the division is a testament to how hard of a worker Joe Girardi is as a manager. Say what you will about how he's done this season, but he's busted his tail managing this roster.
Well,
and think about what he's had to go through. A whole bunch of guys in and out of the disabled list. Now CC Sabathia and Masahiro Tanaka have joined Michael Pineda on the disabled list. That's number 1. Number 2, exactly who is going to be the first baseman? Right now, it's Chase Headley, and I think it's kind of coincidental that Chase Headley has been hitting the ball a little bit better ever since he took over the job, and they wound up bringing in Todd Frazier.
No, it really was a good pickup with Frazier, especially this past week. On Wednesday in the 11-5 victory against Toronto, he really had a great performance there. And tonight, with
the Subway Series is tonight. Yep. Yankees and Mets.
So get on the 4 train for today and tomorrow.
Yep. And as of right now, the Yankees are 3 games ahead of the Angels, who've taken over that second wild card spot. So in order, in the American League, it would be the Red Sox. Actually, it would be the Astros first because they have the best record in the American League. It would be the Astros, Red Sox, and the Indians that would be the division champions, while the Yankees and the Angels would square off against each other in the wild card game.
Amazing. The Angels, they're double digits. They're 12 games back of the Astros in that AL West division.
Bottom line, the Astros are going to win the West. Unless they can do a complete self-destruction the last month and a half of the year, the Astros are winning the West.
But the Angels and the Mariners have had a resurgence in the second half where they put themselves in positions to get that second wild card spot, which is going to be in contention. I think
speaking
the
of
Yankees will get the number 1 spot, but the National League, we know the Nationals are going to probably end up winning the East. We know the Dodgers are going to win the NL West. The Central right now is going to be a tailspin to look forward to in September between the Cubs and the Brewers. I think those are the 2 teams right there.
The Dodgers, Nationals, and Cubs will be the division champions in the National League if the season ended today. The Diamondbacks and the Rockies would be the 2 wild cards. And by the way, they both have identical records, 65 and 52. Whereas back in the American League, 4 games are separating the second wild card spot from 8th or 9th place in the entire league.
That's why I like the fact that they added that 5th spot. They made it more competitive, more interesting than just, especially with teams that had good records that didn't get in the playoffs whatsoever. At least now they're giving you get another extra added bonus for baseball fans. Mm-hmm. I like that they made that move.
Now, on to the Subway Series. I don't know about you guys, but I always look forward to seeing these 2 teams play against each other because...
Not tonight's pitching match. We got Luis Cessa, an ex-Met, who's pretty much pissed off at the Mets for trading him along with Michael Fulmer.
Luis Cessa and also the other guy on the Mets, which is Rafael Montero. The scoreless in the home first right now, but just to give you an idea about the lineups, the Mets have Granderson, Cabrera, Cespedes, Conforto, Flores, Smith, Rosario, Rivera, and Lagares, with Rafael Montero starting.
Oh, because it's an American League ballpark. They have the DH.
And the Yankees have Gardner, Hicks, Judge, Gregorius, Sanchez, Headley, Todd Frazier, Torreyes, and Tyler Wade is going to be the shortstop tonight, which means Didi Gregorius is going to be the designated hitter. And Luis Cessa is starting. Either way, whatever names are on the backs of the Mets uniforms or whoever is wearing the Yankee uniforms, those teams could be either in first place or last place. I still look forward to seeing these teams play because this is New York baseball at its finest.
Well, I like the fact that 21 years ago in 1997 This is the 21st season that they're doing this, and I like the fact that interleague play was introduced in '97 to Major League Baseball. That's one of the things that makes it interesting to watch baseball. Besides seeing them play, the same teams in their division year after year after year. Now we see some interesting competitions and matches and games. And tonight, especially the fact that it's the Mets and the Yankees is always fun. And in this series, I'll be honest, we're going to see plenty of power hitting with Judge. I think Judge is going to have a field day with Montero. If Gallo
can only hope, because going into tonight, Aaron Judge has looked lost at the plate. He's slumped so badly right now. Some say that it might be maybe an issue of timing. Maybe he's the timing on his swing has declined a little bit. All I know is every pitch that he used to drive a couple of months ago, either he's fouled back or he's missed entirely.
Or how about this? The pitchers figured him out, and they know his sweet spot where he likes to hit too. They've kind of been hip to his power and all that, and they know what type of pitches to avoid throwing to him. So right there, it's crazy to think that they might have figured him out right now, because he was a machine going to the end of the first half. He had 31 homers since the All-Star break. 5 home runs at best. Yeah, so it's really been a difference since.
There's a couple of things that we should mention in regards to the Yankees. We mentioned that CC Sabathia is still on the disabled list. He did throw a bullpen session earlier today, and fortunately for him, things went well. The idea is if his knee heals, he might be able to start in Boston over the weekend. That's number one. Number two, for Major League Baseball wants to try and make themselves a little more hip, if you know what I mean. So this weekend, every single Major League team and every single player, the players, instead of having their names, their last names on the back of their jerseys, they're going to have their nicknames on the back of their jerseys.
Oh, please. I'm sorry.
For example, for Yankees Red Sox, Aaron Judge, who usually does not have his name. In fact, none of the Yankees have their names on the backs of their jerseys.
Which I like. That's one of the best traditions. I'm not a Yankee fan, but a tradition of watching the Yankees is the pinstripes.
Well, instead of no name on the back, Aaron Judge is going to have the nickname All Rise.
Oh, I'm sorry. All Rise. I'm sick. I don't want this to happen. Enough of the stupid nicknames that the Major League Baseball trying to be cute. How about trying to shorten the games? That's one thing.
And also, that's another thing. Major League Baseball is doing something, anything, to try and.
I think we're hearing Michael Kay in the background.
Yeah, we actually have Michael Kay in the background because I accidentally turned on the live feed of Major League Baseball. But in the meantime, and as it turns out, Aaron Judge is at the plate. In the meantime, they're going to try and add another clock for these pitchers to try and be a little bit more quick. Not just in between innings, but on the mound during a game. Well, if you really wanted to quicken the game, and for the record, Aaron Judge struck out. Aaron Judge struck out against Rafael Montero, so they're going to go to.
Wow! Thank you for proving me wrong, Aaron Judge, because I really think if Joey Gallo, last Wednesday got a 2-run homer in the first inning, you could do it too, Aaron. And this is, and I'm talking about my own team here that about the Mets. Anyway, great weekend series.
I was about to say, if Major League Baseball really wanted to make the games quicker, tell these guys in the batter's box to not fidget with their stirrups or their batting gloves or their uniforms, and tell the guys on the mound not to step off the mound so many times. I know one thing they want to do. They want to cut down on the number of visits to the mound. They're trying to make it at least one visit to the mound. Not sure if it's per inning or per game.
Or have a per pitcher that's on the mound. You should make it, because they
one visit to the mound per pitcher.
something like that. At least, ways to cut the amount of time that it takes to play a baseball game. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, people argue if you do that, if you force pitchers to to throw a pitch quickly, they could make so many mistakes, mental errors like balks. It could lead to plenty of balks and other things that teams fear would happen. If you institute a rule like this. Well, but at the same time, fans, who don't like the fact that it takes 3 hours to get a full game in, in this day and age, unfortunately, people have, I'm not saying everybody, but there are a certain group of people that have a short attention span that can maybe take 2.5 hours of a game on average. If they can't, to sit for 3 hours, possibly 3.5, depending on the game, is boring to some fans. So they want quicker, faster games.
Well, we mentioned before about CC Sabathia's possible return. Well, there's a chance maybe the Mets will have 3 of their pitching horses back earlier than we think. We mentioned Matt Harvey and how he's doing a rehab assignment in Brooklyn. Well, turns out Harvey is going to be making one more minor league start, and then they're going to determine what's next. Jody Familia, he's going to do a minor league rehab assignment. They're going to send him to the Gulf Coast League. And Noah Syndergaard, he's not going to do a minor league assignment yet, but he is going to take the mound to do a session.
It should be fun, though, especially this coming week. I can't wait to see the series. I can't wait to see what the Yankees do against Boston this coming weekend at Fenway Park with the Monster, as they say. And the Mets against the Marlins, especially with Giancarlo Stanton, a home run hitter. You better watch out.
And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's going on in baseball. For example, the Little League World Series is going to start on Thursday, and that same weekend, the Cardinals and the Pirates are going to be playing a game in Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
On Sunday night at 7:30. This is the first time they've ever done something like this, which is great. And I bet you they're going to have the league players get to go to the game for free. And they want to showcase to these Little Leaguers what could be in store for you. What that possible future that could lead to a career in baseball if you keep up with the game of baseball.
And for the record, the game is going to be played in the stadium of that's the home of the Williamsport Crosscutters, which is a single-A team.
Speaking of which, the Staten Island Yankees, our single-A New York Penn League team, had a very good week. They were off. Well, actually, last Monday was postponed because of the field conditions against Connecticut. But they swept Williamsport. In fact, they had 3 walk-off victories against Williamsport. All one-run games, 3-2, 3-2, and 1-0 on the Camp Day game on Thursday. Then they went to Mahoning Valley, a team that's from Niles, Ohio, and swept them as well. So right now, they're back to being in first place in the lead in the McNamara division because last week they had a terrible week where they were swept by the Aberdeen Ironbirds. And for the first time last week, they were out of first place in the McNamara division. This coming week, on the other hand, they have 2 days off because it's the New York Penn League All-Star break.
Yeah.
And then the 16th, my birthday, by the way. This Wednesday, I'm going to be turning 32. And my mom keeps saying, no, you're turning 30. But I'm turning 32. I love you, Mom, though. Love you. Anyway, Wednesday is a doubleheader against Connecticut. Thursday is going to be Thirsty Thursday night at the ballpark against Connecticut. 1960 throwback and East Shore Appreciation Night.
Wow.
Friday, Connecticut Tigers at 7 p.m. is going to be the Travel Mug Giveaway, North Shore Appreciation Night, and free hot dogs up until the 5th inning. And not only that, there are going to be 5 golden tickets in these hot dogs. If you get one of those 5 golden tickets, you get a free suite to a game in 2018. Imagine that, 20 of your friends, free suite with a credit limit, man.
As far as the standings in the New York Penn League?
And I'm sorry, Saturday they have the Lowell Spinners, post-game fireworks, Italian Heritage Night, Chef Vincent Tropepi appearance, and Mariana Randazzo is going to be making an appearance. Sunday is going to be Jewish Heritage Night. Kids Eat Free and Screws Kids Club Sundays for the Little Spinners, and the record itself, they're in first place in the division.
Yep, they lead the division. While they have the best record in the league, Brooklyn has the worst record in the league, 15-37.
Not shocking at all to me this year.
By the way, just as you spoke, Giancarlo Stanton hit another home run. Literally hit another home run. This is now 5 straight games with a home run and 9 in the last 10 games in which he has homered.
Now he's living up to that contract.
Mm-hmm.
After a few years, he's had some injury issues, but this year he's having one of his best seasons, playing healthy for one. He's hitting with the type of power that the Marlins have always known him to have.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that they put the flap on his batting helmet was the smartest move that they ever did.
Yep. Speaking of sluggers, did you see what happened to Bryce Harper over the weekend?
Scary moment that took place.
Yeah,
and now,
unfortunately, he wound up suffering a very, very ugly knee injury. So naturally, he's going to be out for a little bit. I'm not really sure if this is going to require disabled list time. My guess is yes.
This couldn't have come at the worst time.
They're going to be out. They're going to be without him for a while.
And like I said, this couldn't have come at the worst possible time right now because they're entering the with this month and September coming up. This is the time they need him to get into. I think they will clinch the division, but it won't be as easy without him. Yeah, it won't be so easy now for them. They'll still clinch it, probably by mid-third week of September at best. But they would have clinched it just a lot easier with him in the lineup. But they still have their other hitters. They have Daniel Murphy. They have Ryan Zimmerman. Jason Worth hopefully will be returning to the lineup too as well.
Yeah.
So I think things will start to fall into place for them. And, I'm hoping that Harper has a speedy recovery. Now, coming up this week in Brooklyn, the third straight year edition of the Summer Classic for WWE.
SummerSlam.
That's right, folks. SummerSlam will be at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York this coming Sunday, and we got a lot of good matches coming your way. Mm-hmm. The main event, a fatal 4-way for the WWE Universal title. Brock Lesnar defending against Roman Reigns, Samoa Joe, and Braun Strowman. If I had to...
That's a fatal 4-way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who do you think will win that match?
I couldn't even try to pick out of that quartet. Anybody could come away with the title at any time.
I think it's going to be Roman Reigns and WWE.
Much to the hatred of every fan in WWE.
Oh, without a doubt. Vince McMahon is that type of person where he does not care what the fans want. It's only what he wants that matters. Mm-hmm. Even though he doesn't realize it's us, the fans, who have made him a billionaire. Well, now a millionaire because he lost $400 million actually in one day.
Yeah.
Of all people to lose $400 million, Vince McMahon. But nonetheless, I think Roman Reigns will probably end up coming away with the victory in this match, barely against Braun Strowman. Brock Lesnar won't even be a factor. He'll probably be knocked out first by all three of them ganging up on him because it'd be the smartest move. Mm-hmm. Why would you not want to take out Brock when you can right now?
Yeah.
He's a tough guy. Then you got the Women's Championship for SmackDown, Naomi against Natalya Neidhart. Mm-hmm. Natalya, years ago, if you watched Total Divas, was at SummerSlam Brooklyn and didn't even participate. Wasn't even involved in any match. For her to come back 2 years later to get the opportunity to fight for the title at SummerSlam and to add this championship to her legacy, I think she'll come out.
And considering she's from a very famous family, namely the Hart family. Her father's Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Naturally, she was due to have her shot once again at the title. And I hate to tell you this, but we just got a breaking story about WWE from our friend Lynn. Ric Flair had to be rushed to the hospital, and he's undergoing a very serious surgery right now, and there's no update on his condition.
I know. I heard this earlier this morning. And believe me, my heart and my prayers and thoughts are going towards Rick right now and his daughter Charlotte and the entire Flair family. It's really a sad situation for the 16-time record-holding champion. Actually, I think it's tied right now with but that doesn't matter. The fact is he won the title 16 times. He's had one of the most prolific careers. He's had some controversy, let's not forget. Yeah. But at the same time, he is one of the reasons why WWE was exciting, just with his flash, his attitude. He had this bravado that was just so. I don't know how you describe it, but sometimes it was out there. It was at times annoying to some fans, but you know what? He made wrestling fun.
Mm-hmm.
He did. Woo!
Yeah.
And
I just found out that it's a heart condition that he's had. I think he's had this heart problem for a long, long time now.
It was supposed to be a routine checkup at first, but then his agent publicist said that it's not a routine checkup, that it's actually more serious than reported earlier. But hopefully things will work out, that he'll be fine. So again, our hearts, our thoughts, our prayers are definitely with Rick. We're thinking of you. We hope you have a speedy recovery and that you'll be back to 100% health. And I feel bad for his daughter, who has to be at an event actually tonight in Ohio.
Guess what I just found out? You just mentioned Natalia, who's going to be wrestling for the women's title on Sunday. She's coming to Staten Island on Saturday.
Where?
She's going to be making an appearance at the Toys R Us near the Staten Island Mall. And let me correct myself. It's actually Friday at 2 o'clock. So if you want to see dare I say, future WWE Women's Champion
Of
Natalia
SmackDown?
Neidhart here on Staten Island, she's going to be appearing at Toys R Us this coming Friday at 2.
And you know what? Don't be shocked to see the princess of Staten Island, you know who I'm talking about, Carmella, who I cannot stand the fact that she calls herself the princess of Staten Island. It's sort of insulting. Yeah.
Yep.
She is the Miss Money in the Bank holder. She might cash in her briefcase this week after the match. I would not be shocked in the least if she pulls that crap off with that stupid manager of hers, James Ellsworth. I cannot stand looking at his face. Anyway, the Raw Women's Championship, you got Alexa Bliss. Either she'll be going up against Sasha Banks or Nia Jax. That is actually, tonight on Raw, Sasha and Nia are fighting to be the number one contender for Sunday. Originally, it was supposed to be Bayley. Unfortunately, she injured her shoulder, so she couldn't compete this Sunday, which is really sad for that to happen. Then Jinder Mahal defends his title against Shinsuke Nakamura. An India-Japanese affair. Love the international flavor in this match. Guys with distinct styles. Jinder is he's got raw physical power, but Shinsuke has that strong leg kicking movement. Yeah. They call him the king of strong style. His kicks are devastating and deliberate. It's going to be a good match. The U.S. title, AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens with guest referee Shane McMahon. I know. I guess what's going to end up happening is Shane will interfere on Kevin Owens' part and make sure that Kevin wins the title back because of the feud that AJ and Shane had at WrestleMania earlier this year. And then we have Randy Orton versus Rusev.
Yeah.
Because apparently Randy Orton has had so many title opportunities that they need to give Rusev a match so they can put him over. That's what's happening really here. And Rusev is going to end up winning this match and looking dominant in the very end. I hate to say that. I love Randy, but that's what it looks like to me. SmackDown Tag Team title match, The New Day, your favorite tag team.
No, they're not my favorite tag team. That's probably the stupidest gimmick I have ever seen, and they're still continuing with that stupid gimmick.
They have the distinction of winning the Raw Tag Team Championship and the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, and they're going up against the Usos.
Wonderful.
I hope the Usos win this match, honestly, because I'm kind of getting sick of the New Day, too. I thought I was coming on the bandwagon, but I'm like you. I'm kind of getting sick of the gimmick, too. They need to break those guys up and give Big E Langston individual career. The guy deserves a title shot.
If anything, I think each needs to branch out on their own again.
Neville's defending his Cruiserweight title against Kira Tozawa. I love the fact that they brought the Cruiserweight division. It was popular even in WCW in the heyday, but WCW unfortunately never utilized them as much as they should have.
Well, get this. I just heard from Lynn, not only will SummerSlam be at Barclays this coming Sunday, it's going to be at Barclays next year too.
Which is the smart thing. It's sort of the same pattern that they did with the LA at the Staples Center. Yes, so I like the fact that they're keeping it in New York. Just like many years ago, the very first SummerSlam, Madison Square Garden.
Just like the very first WrestleMania was at the Garden.
So at least they're keeping it in New York. And you got Neville versus Akira Tozawa. You know who his manager is? O'Neal. Titus O'Neal is Akira's manager. I don't like this whole gimmick. Again, another guy that should have be in the title picture, Titus O'Neal, but unfortunately gets screwed over by WWE. Big Show and Big Cass are fighting each other with Enzo Mori in a shark cage. That's stupid. Finn Balor, the Demon King of Ireland, against Bray Wyatt, the Demon of the Underworld.
Yep.
And John Cena against Baron Corbin. I like that matchup, especially the fact that Baron Corbin, he's the Money in the Bank winner. That will probably be the first match of the night. Baron Corbin will win, will tease using his Money in the Bank, but won't actually use it that night. I think he'll probably wait till WrestleMania next year. Now let's go into the NFL, the first preseason week, and we had the Houston Texans visiting Carolina Panthers. Deshaun Watson had a great first NFL debut, 15 and 25 passes, 179 yards, and he went by 2 defenders for a 15-yard touchdown run and a lot of cheering, despite the fact that Houston lost 27-17. Then we had the Seattle Seahawks against the LA Chargers at the new StubHub Arena of 27,000 seats. Actually, 27,000 is the capacity, 21,000 being the fans that were at the game. And yet, Phil Rivers threw a 5-yard scoring pass to Antonio Gates. It didn't matter. At the end of the day, Seattle won that match 48-17. The Detroit Lions and the Indianapolis Colts. And the Detroit Lions won 24-10, 2 touchdowns from Keith with Rudock to Kenny Galladay. Unbelievable, 13-21 for 142 yards. And then we had the Arizona Cardinals actually beat the Oakland Raiders 20-10.
But there was some controversy that took place before that game because Marshawn Lynch, in his first appearance as a Raider since coming out of retirement, sat down for the national anthem. And whereas very few people made a stinker about it, in fact, even Jack Del Rio didn't make too much about it because he spoke to Marshawn Lynch after the game, and Lynch admitted he had been doing that for over a decade, sitting down during the national anthem.
Yeah, so I don't think he did say publicly support last year when he was in retirement of what Colin Kaepernick was doing.
Yeah.
But and it's not just him. Michael Bennett, too, another player who's currently with Seattle, is also kneeling, too, nowadays. He's carrying on the kneeling. But let's get into the games, like especially this past week. The Rams, with Jared Goff, had led the opening touchdown drive for the LA Rams, and they beat the Dallas Cowboys 13-10. I like the fact with Sean McVay's new system, I think we're gonna see a huge growth spurt for Jared Goff in his second year with the league.
The Rams would certainly hope so. They made him a high draft pick for a reason.
And then the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes made his debut, and the fans went wild for him. And he had a hell of a he's the first Chiefs quarterback to be taken in the first round in 34 years.
And that's really saying something.
And he took advantage of a blocked punt with a short touchdown throw to the rookie Marcus Kemp, and they ended up winning the
And by the way,
27-17, yeah.
That quarterback that was drafted by the Chiefs then was from that famous quarterback class of 1983. If you remember, the guys that were drafted were Jim Kelly, Dan Marino, John Elway, all three of whom are Hall of Famers. And then you had Ken O'Brien, drafted by the Jets, lasted for 10 years, was up and down as a starter, and Todd Blackledge. That was the guy that the Chiefs drafted number 1 in 1983. And now you see Todd Blackledge on television every Saturday night doing college football for ESPN and ABC.
And he's probably really thrilled to see a guy like Patrick Mahomes doing his thing. Mm-hmm. And right now, he did better than Tyler Bray for that backup spot, behind Alex Smith. And who knows? I would not be shocked to see Patrick Mahomes at some point in the season get the starting nod for Kansas City. The Buccaneers and the Bengals played each other, and it was a mild performance. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, in the 1-year deal he signed, had a touchdown and scrambled twice for 15 yards. He did lose the ball, but he recovered his own fumble, and they won 23-12. Then you had the game between, of course, the Saints and the Browns. Myles Garrett didn't have too bad. debut. On his first play, he went behind the line and sacked Garrett Grayson. Yeah, the starting quarterback for the Saints, because Drew Brees sat out, as well as the new running back for their team, Adrian Peterson, who signed a 1-year deal after 10 years with the Vikings organization. They both sat out for the Saints. However, Myles Garrett was the big story, the number 1 overall pick. And Deshaun Kaiser getting the game-winning touchdown at the very end of the game with about a 45-yard pass with about 1:52 to go. And he might have distinguished himself in that 3-way battle with Cody Kessler.
And just Deshaun Kaiser is the kid from Notre Dame who wound up getting drafted in the later rounds.
Which I'm happy they got him, because he's had a tendency, if you watch at Notre Dame, he's great with late-game heroics. He could do the same for Cleveland. As for the game between the Eagles and the Packers, the Eagles lost 24-9, but Carson Wentz, went 4 for 4, 56 yards, had a score in the only series of the game that he played. Aaron Rodgers was a healthy scratch his performance, but Hundley actually was not too bad. He had a pump fake pass before he found Jeff Janis in stride down the right side of the end zone for a 20-yard pass that gave them the 14-6 lead. Again, they ended up winning 24-9. As for the Denver Broncos and the Bears, Mitchell Trubisky, 166 yards, 3 scoring drives, 2 touchdowns, and a field goal, giving the Bears a 17-3 lead at the half. And now we have a quarterback controversy.
He just made things harder for John Fox, because after the way he played and the way Mike Glennon just stunk it up.
0 QB rating, 2 of 8, and threw a pick on the first play of the game. 50-yard pick off.
Granted, he was not able to tie the game or give them the win at the end, but what he did beforehand really gives Bears fans at least a teeny-weeny bit of hope.
And completed his first 10 passes. So this is why Ryan Pace made the move to trade with San Fran to get the number 2 spot and draft Trubisky for this very reason. And Sanchez, honestly, he's just there just to have an opportunity. But I'll be honest, and my favorite word, wouldn't be shocking to see him cut by the Bears at the end of training camp.
9 NFL seasons that kid has had, and he's done. His career has gone from bad to worse ever since he left the Jets.
I don't. How about this, Ryan Mallett? Trying to get the start, because who knows when Joe Flacco will be able to take a snap under center for the Ravens. He's got back issues, and they just signed Thad Lewis, in fact, this past week to be a quarterback for the team in the competition with Ryan Mallett. At the end of the day, it's going to end up being Mallett being the number 1 for the moment right now in the depth chart until Flacco can come back healthy and 100%. But nonetheless, they beat the Redskins 23-3. They had a hell of a performance. And the backfield combination, the fact they got Tony Jefferson in the offseason, Brandon Carr to be in that defensive backfield with Eric Weddle and Jimmy Smith, they could be one of the most dangerous secondaries in the league coming to 2017 for the Ravens. I like this. As for Kirk Cousins, he only had 1 series, but that contract situation is going to be talked about. Jacksonville and New England, the Jaguars actually beat the Patriots, and we saw a little bit of work from Chad Henne to Keelan Cole on a 97-yard touchdown pass. We also saw Dede Westbrook make some plays as well from Brandon Allen on a 42-yard play. Jimmy Garoppolo, the only times he's going to ever play, for the most part, is the preseason. This is the last year of his contract with New England. He needs to have a hell of a preseason to convince the other 31 teams why they should even consider signing him. And he didn't have such a great performance this past week, so he needs to really get it together for the coming weeks ahead. Otherwise, I don't know what it's going to look like for him going to 2018. Now, the Vikings and Bills, this week, Case Keenum, the Vikings signed him as an insurance policy because of the fact that Bridgewater is not coming back anytime soon.
Wow.
And Sam Bradford's going to be the starter. Said he need Keenum as the backup for the moment. And he did go 11-16, 121 yards. He hit Colleen straight over the middle on a crossing pattern for a 38-yard catch that set up Kai Forbat's 36-yard field goal play to tie the game at 3-0 late in the second quarter. The Vikings ended up beating the Bills 17-10. But you got to give it up to the new coaching for the Bills with Sean McDermott. The defense looks really good. The offense is still struggling a bit. Tyrod Taylor has to have a good year.
Yeah.
Or Nathan Peterman could take over. And then finally, the newest expensive running back in the NFL, Devontae Freeman, got a new 5-year, $41.25 million contract extension, making one of the highest paid running backs in the league, and deservingly so, for having 7th most total yards last year. Yeah, the Falcons beat the Dolphins 23-20, and the Dolphins now, it looks like Ryan Tannehill is done for the season. He's going to be having surgery.
Yeah, he is done for the season, which means now they're going to have to use Jay Cutler as their starting quarterback this year. And you mentioned Devontae Freeman. Just a couple days after his preseason debut, suffered a concussion in practice. So he has to go through all that protocol, which means he may be held out for the last 3 games of the preseason.
And some other sad news in football: Bob Stoops, legendary head coach at Oklahoma, steps down.
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise there, considering that he'd been there a long time and really turned Oklahoma around and made them a really, really dangerous program.
He joined the team back in '99. He led them to the 2000 national title, 10 Big 12 titles, 14 seasons with double-digit wins, and last year with an 11-2 mark. And this was going to be a very competitive Big 12, Big 12, a Big 10 division this year, and Big 12. And unfortunately, he won't be a part of it. And because every time I think of Oklahoma, Bob Stoops' name always comes up in my mind. Now, it's going to be sad to not see him on the sidelines with the red and white. But let's see how they do. Johnny Manziel, I'm hearing, is actually considering being a college coach if his NFL career doesn't come back.
There is no boss anywhere with even 1/4 of a brain that's going to consider him as a coach, much less a quarterback. I mean, seriously, he's kidding himself.
And kicker Roberto Aguayo, who had a terrible field goal performance in the game against Cincinnati, hit wide left and wide right, just got waived by the Buccaneers. Remember this guy who was drafted 2nd round last year.
And just as quickly as he got released, he wound up finding himself a new place to go.
Don't tell me.
He's now in Chicago.
He could be you know what? I'm hope it works out for him. Now, that clears the way for Nick Folk to be the new starting kicker for the Buccaneers, the former New York Jet. And then Brandon Albert. Here's the craziest twist of events. Last week, he decided to call it quits in the NFL. Now he wants to, quote-unquote, unretire.
Yeah.
He wants to go. He's changing his mind all of a sudden.
You know why? It's because he's still owed a lot of money on this deal.
$875 million in 2017, $9.575 million in 2018. So even though none of that money was guaranteed, he doesn't want to miss out on that payday.
Yeah.
And as for the Bills, they made a huge trade. So not only did the Bills lose Robert Woods to the LA Rams, now they just traded
Sammy Watkins to the Rams as well.
And they acquire EJ Gaines, and it was shipped to the Rams, along with a 2018 6th-round pick in exchange for cornerback EJ Gaines. And the reason why they got Gaines was the fact that they lost Stephon Gilmore, the Bills, in the offseason to the rival Patriots, who were able to give him a bigger contract. So they get a new cornerback and a 2018 2nd-round pick for the Bills. That's huge right there. And some controversy, 2 things. Ezekiel Elliott had a 6-game suspension. And
he's lucky he got only 6 games. He should have been suspended for half the season or maybe even the entire season.
For what he did to his ex-girlfriend in 2016, which the NFL still says alleged, and the incident that happened at the nightclub recently in Dallas, too, where he punched the DJ and had a fight, and all the offseason Michigaza and BS that he's had, he needs to realize this is not the time to screw things up with your life. You just came off a over 1,500 rushing season with 15 touchdowns on the ground. You're a young, great up-and-coming running back. This is not the time to be a schmuck and do something so stupid and ruin your life. like getting into bar fights and hurting people and being disrespectful and deplorable and disgusting beyond belief. You need to grow up and wake up and smell the roses and the coffee, man. You have a gift. Don't piss on your gift and your opportunity. There are millions of people who wish they could do what you do on a daily basis. Maybe he'll learn a lesson or two. And unfortunately, my team, my Florida Gators, committed one of the dumbest things you could ever think of, using their student IDs to make unwarranted purchases. And now 7 players, including Antonio Callaway, are suspended for the opening day night game against Michigan and Dallas on September 2nd.
I want to know what these unwanted purchases are, because if they were necessities for school, then this once again speaks to the hypocrisy of the NCAA.
It wasn't even. It was money that they didn't have on their student ID cards, and they took these items and they sold them to make cash. So it was illegal beyond belief. These guys deserve 4 games for what they did. They besmirched the good name of the university by doing things like this.
You know, that's not the first time that the university has gotten into trouble with the NCAA. They've had years and years of problems with the NCAA, going back almost 30 years.
I know. And how about the drug charges that Antonio Callaway had back in 2016? Back in July, he had a plea deal that he made, and he was only fined $301. You know, so this team has had some issues with the law, unfortunately. And Lavernius Coles, actually, no, that was Florida State with the whole shopping incident. Anyway, as for the preseason for the Jets, they won 7-3. Josh McCown had a good performance on the only drive of the game, 4-yard pass to Sharon Peak. And Robbie Anderson looks like a good number 1 receiver. I think things might go in a better direction, but it's only a small sample size. But Christian Hackenberg had a good performance in the majority of the game. And they did win 7-3. They were lucky it wasn't a 7-all game. That touchdown was actually overturned that Tennessee had in the third quarter because the player was touched. And the Giants, unfortunately, lost 20-12, but we saw the debut of T.J. Watt, who had 2 big sacks in the game. And his brother even tweeted, "Congratulations, welcome to the game."
Yep. The big thing with the Jets, though, Christian Hackenberg showed a lot of potential. So he's going to give Jet fans at least a teeny-weeny bit of hope going into the season. But if they're going to do anything, they need to have Matt Forte and Bilal Powell in the same backfield, because you cannot win games, especially regular season games, with just 30 or 40 yards of running the ball.
That's definitely. I think this week, of course, coming up, the Jets will be in Detroit on Saturday, and a week from today, the Giants will be in Cleveland on Monday. The Giants' offensive line has got to do a good job in protecting Eli if he is playing this week against a guy like Myles Garrett, who's going to have, especially in the dog pound, Myles is going to be looking to rip Eli's head off.
Yep.
So if I'm the Giants O-line, that left side better be solidified by next Monday. As for the Jets against Detroit this week, they're coming off a good victory in the preseason against Indiana. So look out for more quarterback competitions, between the two teams. As for the world of golf, Justin Thomas won his first ever major yesterday with a 3-under-68 at the 99th annual PGA Championship from Quail Hollow in Charlotte, North Carolina, including a crazy 8-foot birdie that teetered on the edge of the cup. Then 10 seconds later, the ball actually fell in. It was one of those miracle plays. And he chipped in from 40 feet on the 13th hole, and a 7-iron from 221 yards he fired. And it was an unbelievable performance. I'm happy for him. In fact, his friend, since 14 years of age, Jordan Spieth was there to congratulate him. They really have such great support for each other. And the Premier League started this past week for the defending champions Chelsea. And Neymar had a huge performance in his first game with Paris Saint-Germain after signing that $220 million Euro deal.
That's officially going to do it for us for tonight. So for everyone here, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Eric.
We'll see you next Monday night. Good night, everyone.
Peace, everybody, and good tidings to all.